All right, so you're looking into Cameco stock. It seems like you're onto something interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to take a deep dive into the world of nuclear energy. Guided by a recent Motley Fool article from November 25th, 2024, we'll see if this whole nuclear resurgence is just hype or if it's something you should really factor into your investment decisions.
You know what's really interesting here is that Cameco, essentially the uranium supplier for this whole nuclear comeback, it's at the center of a pretty unexpected trend, nuclear energy, which many considered a relic of the past, is experiencing a resurgence. And to understand why, we need to look at the bigger picture.
Okay, let's unpack this. What's driving this sudden nuclear renaissance?
Well, a major factor is the exponential rise of artificial intelligence and data centers. All that data processing requires a massive amount of energy, way more than traditional sources can handle.
So basically, data centers are turning into giant nuclear-powered brains.
That's a great way to put it. And the numbers back it up. Goldman Sachs predicts that data center power demand will skyrocket by a staggering 160% by 2030. That's a huge energy gap that needs to be filled. And nuclear power is stepping up to the plate.
It's amazing how these seemingly unrelated fields are now so interconnected. Tech advancements driving a resurgence in nuclear energy. Who would have thought?
Yeah, it really highlights how seemingly separate trends can converge in unexpected ways. And it's not just a theoretical shift either. We're seeing real-world examples of this convergence, like Microsoft's 20-year deal with Constellation Energy.
I remember reading about that. Didn't that deal include potentially restarting 3 Mile Island Unit 1? It's like a blast from the past coming back to life.
It really is. That particular detail has captured a lot of attention, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. Other tech giants are also forging partnerships in the nuclear space. Oracle, for instance, is planning a data center powered by small modular reactors, or SMRs. These SMRs are essentially mini nuclear power plants, much more compact and potentially safer than traditional reactors.
SMRs seem to be getting a lot of buzz lately. What's the advantage of going small?
Well, they're designed to be more cost-effective and easier to deploy in various locations, making them more versatile than large-scale reactors. This opens up new markets for Cameco's uranium. They're also considered to be a more flexible and potentially safer alternative to traditional nuclear plants.
So it's not just a few tech companies dabbling in nuclear. Is this a broader trend?
Absolutely. It's a global phenomenon. In fact, 31 nations have pledged to triple their nuclear energy capacity by 2050. That's a massive shift in the global energy landscape, with nuclear power becoming a more attractive option. And it's not just governments. Major financial institutions are also on board.
Which one?
Heavy hitters like Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and Morgan Stanley are all backing the nuclear comeback. They see the potential for growth and are willing to invest in it. This isn't just a fleeting trend. It's a serious commitment backed by significant financial power.
That's a pretty strong vote of confidence for nuclear. Here in the U.S., we've also seen some policy changes aimed at supporting nuclear energy, right?
You're talking about the ADVANCE Act. This legislation signals a serious commitment to revitalizing the nuclear industry in the U.S. It aims to cut down on regulatory costs and offers financial incentives to boost innovation in the sector.
So how does this new legislation affect a company like Cameco?
Well, Cameco, with its operations in mining, refining, and even reactor technology through its stake in Westinghouse, stands to benefit significantly from the ADVANCE Act. Faster approvals for new projects and potential tax breaks could give Cameco a competitive edge in this evolving market.
Cameco's stake in Westinghouse, a major nuclear technology provider, further strengthens their position in the industry. They're really covering all the bases. With uranium in such high demand, it seems like Cameco's in a pretty favorable position.
They certainly have some key advantages. They're one of the world's largest uranium producers, and the market is currently facing a supply squeeze due to years of underinvestment in the uranium sector.
And what about the U.S. ban on Russian uranium imports? How does that play into the equation?
That's another factor tightening the supply and potentially driving prices up. Citigroup even forecasts that uranium prices could average $110 per pound in 2025. That's a pretty bullish outlook.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
There is. Remember, commodity prices can be volatile, and uranium is particularly sensitive to public perception and geopolitical events.
But haven't renewables like solar and wind been gaining ground? Can nuclear really compete?
That's an interesting point. Renewables are definitely playing a bigger role, but they face challenges in terms of reliability and storage. Nuclear energy, on the other hand, provides a consistent and predictable power source, making it a valuable complement to renewable energy sources.
So you're saying that instead of seeing them as competitors, we should think of nuclear and renewables as working together. to create a more robust and diverse energy mix.
Exactly. They each bring their own strengths to the table, and together they can address the growing demand for clean and reliable energy. And let's not forget the geopolitical factors at play.
Right, you mentioned earlier how uranium prices are sensitive to public perception and world events. What happened after the Fukushima disaster in 2011? It's a good example of that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The Fukushima disaster had a profound impact on the nuclear industry. Public sentiment towards nuclear energy plummeted, leading to a decline in demand and a drop in uranium prices.
And I'm guessing that also impacted Cameco's stock price.
It did. It was a stark reminder that investing in a commodity-driven market like uranium comes with inherent risks.
Okay, so there's potential for big gains, but also the possibility of things going south. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride. How can someone even evaluate those risks?
That's the million-dollar question. But even with that inherent volatility, long-term trends seem to favor nuclear energy. The International Atomic Energy Agency projects that global nuclear capacity could increase by as much as 2.5 times by 2050.
That's a significant increase, clearly showing a global shift toward nuclear energy. Are we seeing any of those trends playing out here in the U.S.?
Absolutely. While there aren't a lot of new reactors being built in the U.S. right now, there's a focus on getting more out of existing infrastructure. We're seeing power plants increase their capacity, extend their operational life, and even some retired facilities being brought back online.
So it's a mixed bag in the U.S., but definitely some interesting developments on the horizon. What does this all mean for someone like me, who's interested in Cameco stock?
Well, we've uncovered a lot about the nuclear energy landscape and Cameco's position within it. We've seen the surging demand from AI and data centers, tech giants entering into nuclear partnerships, a global push for nuclear expansion, supportive U.S. legislation, and Cameco's standing as a major uranium producer. But we've also discussed the price volatility and the impact of public opinion, which can shift quickly.
It's like piecing together a puzzle, looking at all these factors, and trying to understand how they connect and influence the bigger picture.
You've got it. We can't give financial advice. But knowing all of this, what factors stand out to you? What would you weigh when making an investment decision?
That's a great question. I think I'd be paying close attention to Cameco's financials, their long-term contracts, and how they're managing those price fluctuations. I'd also want to keep an eye on those global energy trends and any policy changes that could impact the nuclear industry.
Those are all excellent points to consider. Investing in a company like Cameco requires a deep understanding of both the company itself and the broader industry dynamics. It's not just about the stock price. It's about the story behind the stock.
This whole deep dive has given me a new perspective on nuclear energy. I never realized how complex and interconnected it all is.
It's a fascinating sector, full of complexities and constantly evolving. This resurgence has the potential to reshape the global energy landscape. But before we wrap things up, I have one final question for you. We focus mainly on Cameco and the uranium market. But what other industries or technologies do you think might be unexpectedly impacted by this nuclear resurgence?
That's an interesting question. It makes you think beyond just the immediate impacts. Let me see. Well, if nuclear power really takes off, it's going to need a lot of specialized materials and expertise. I'm thinking things like advanced alloys for reactor construction, maybe even robotics for handling nuclear fuel. And don't forget the waste management and recycling technologies. Those are going to be crucial as well.
Yeah, you're right on the money. The resurgence of nuclear energy could breathe new life into existing industries, like material science and engineering, while also driving innovation in areas like robotics and waste management.
It's like a chain reaction of investment and innovation. With nuclear energy at the center, this could create entirely new industries and job opportunities.
Exactly. It's a ripple effect that extends far beyond just the uranium market. And it's something investors should be paying attention to. These interconnected industries represent a whole ecosystem of potential growth, driven by the demand for clean and reliable energy.
It's amazing to think about the interconnectedness of everything. Nuclear energy impacting tech, finance, material science. It's all connected.
It really highlights the importance of taking a systems thinking approach, especially when it comes to investing. You need to look beyond the immediate trends and understand how different industries and global events influence each other. It can give you a real advantage in making smart investment decisions.
That's some seriously insightful advice. So if someone is considering investing in Cameco, what's the one key takeaway you would leave them with?
I'd say this. Don't just focus on the hype or the short-term price fluctuations. Take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Consider the long-term trends driving the nuclear energy resurgence, Cameco's position within the market, and the potential risks involved. Make an informed decision based on a holistic understanding of the company, the industry, and your own personal investment goals.
That's great advice for any investment, really. Do your research, look beyond the headlines, and understand the forces at play. Think about how it all fits together and whether you believe in the long-term story.
Exactly. Informed investors are empowered investors.
Well, that brings our deep dive into Cameco and the nuclear energy resurgence to a close. We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the world of uranium reactors and the future of clean energy. It's a complex and fascinating topic, and hopefully this deep dive is giving you a better understanding of what's driving this unexpected comeback and what it could mean for investors like you.
It's been a pleasure exploring these insights with you. Remember, the world is full of fascinating connections and unexpected trends. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep into